Tatiana Echeverri, the Lifestyle International Realty Dateline partner. I'm going to be talking about how to host an open house. And feel free to ask any questions throughout. I will just go over a few talking points. And then if you have any questions, feel free to let me know and interrupt. So an open house. First of all, great way to get free leads. I know everyone was always asking about leads, so that's definitely a great way to get free leads that you don't have to pay for. You basically just host an open house and you get to meet different agents. I get to meet different people. So I'm going to go over the steps first. So first things first that I would do, I broke it down in different ways that you can do things. So either you can have an open house on one of your listings, or you can host an open house with one of our agents. So typically on our LIR WhatsApp general chat, we have a lot of agents that will request someone to host an open house for them. So that is something that you will basically be working with another agent, and any leads that you get from that open house, some agents have different ways of handling it. Either you can do a 50-50 split with that agent, or any of those leads would be completely yours. Whenever, let's say you decide the date, typically open houses are hosted during the weekend, so Saturday or Sunday. For this case, I'm going to say, let's say we do a Saturday. So the most common times to do an open house would typically be about 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So typically I like to do 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. just to give myself enough time to do the morning errands that I'll have to do prior to hosting the open house. It also gives enough time for different neighbors to come by. I would never host an open house, let's say at 9 a.m. It's a little bit too early, especially on the weekend. If you have kids or anything, you want to make sure that you get them up and ready to go. So let's say we're just to use Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. open house. So next steps you would do, once you decided on the date and the time, you would go ahead and ask Angela, our VA, to set up an Instagram template for you. So what you would do is you have one of the pictures of the property, and it would show open house as the title, and then the date and the time. Once you have that, go ahead and post it on your social media. So ideally, I like about a week of time frame before you're going to do the open house. So let's say we have decided to do it on Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I want to make sure that we have that Instagram template by Monday. So you want to post it on your Instagram, Facebook, all your social medias that you are currently using. Post that open house template on Monday. And then on that following Wednesday, put a story about it and something along the lines of, join me, I'll be hosting this open house. Put the time frame, put something catchy. You can even put something as a poll and put, would you want to see more pictures? Do you want to see a live video? Definitely put something that's engaging through your Instagram, through your Facebook, through your LinkedIn, to have more people want to come and attend to your open house. Then you will want to put a story as well on Friday saying, don't miss out, going to be doing an open house tomorrow. And then on Saturday morning, make sure to do another story post. So I know it might seem a little bit repetitive, but remember, stories only last 24 hours on Instagram and Facebook. So you want to make sure that you have it and you're consistent with it. Now, if social media is not your thing and you're not very consistent on it, one, I would recommend trying to get more comfortable with it. And two, if that is really something you don't do, then there are other ways that you can promote your open house. Definitely post it on the LIR WhatsApp general chat, and also let friends and family know. You can call different neighbors about it. So something that I would definitely do is door knock the neighborhood beforehand. I'll add that into the date of the next thing I would like to do. So open houses, what really generates traffic at an open house? So obviously the social media posting and all of that, but signs are huge. So we used to host open houses. I would say maybe like my first to second year of real estate, I was hosting an open house almost every single weekend. And it was not a minimum of at least 30 to 40 signs. I know that's extreme, so I'm not expecting everyone to do 30 or 40 signs. I know it gets a little expensive and all that, but if you have the funds to be able to go and get your personalized open house signs, like the big wooden ones that you can post in the middle of the street, I would say get about 5 to 7 of those just to always have on hand. Those are the best ones to put in the median of the street. They're, personalized. They're going to be a little bit more expensive. They're going to be something that attracts a lot more attention. If not, you can always get just a bunch of the regular open house signs. So either you can get them from Home Depot, you can get them from Amazon. If you order them from Amazon, I would definitely say to make sure to order them ahead of time so you don't have to worry about getting them last minute. So using the signs, that's going to be something that's going to attract a lot of attention because you're going to see obviously the signs with a big red sign that says open house. So first of all, when you get that property and you know where you're going to be hosting it, check on Google Maps and check basically the main 4 intersections of where people will be coming from to see your property. So let's say you're on Kendall and 107th. You want to make sure that you have every street light that has an open house sign of yours so they know where the open house is. You're going to be guiding every person that's seeing those properties, seeing those streets, you're going to be guiding them to your open house. And on the open house signs, if you do just get a general open house sign that does not have your photo and your phone number, make sure to put your phone number on the open house sign. That you can happily do with permanent marker because your phone number should not change. Now, if you want to put the address, that's perfectly fine as well. But if you are going to write the address on your open house sign, make sure to do it in dry erase marker so you can eventually just erase it out and then continue to use the same open house signs. So once you have those signs and those pinpointed spots of where you want to put those signs, the night before, I always typically drive around the area and try to see where the traffic is coming from and see where else I would want to post a sign. So I typically print out the Google Maps and I pinpoint where I want to put all my signs. So one, I know the next day I'm making it easier for myself. And as well, you want to make sure you always forget to pick up all of your signs. For example, places like Coral Gables, you have a certain time limit of how long your sign can be out. I believe it's about 3 to 4 hours. If you do not pick up your signs at the end of the day, there are some cities that you can get penalized for it. So make sure to know where your signs are and pick them all up at the end of the day. And then the last thing you want to do is make sure you leave your open house bag ready. So whenever I host an open house, I almost always have my bag ready to go. What do I have in this bag? I typically have about 50 business cards. I have loose pens that I want to have. If you have printed pens, like personalized pens that have your information on it, that's always a great way to do too. It's a not a big investment for a personalized gift that you can give to people. So they obviously will have a pen once they leave your open house with your phone number and your name and maybe licensed realtor. That's something that's always good to have and it's inexpensive. And it's something that people typically do like to take from open houses. And then you want to make sure that you have a printed sign-in sheet. So this sign-in sheet is going to be a great way for you to follow up once you're done with the open house and for future follow-up as well. And then you also want to have maybe like a speaker for music. I typically like to have a speaker in my open house bag just to be ready to go. So I can always have it charged and have something that will, so you're not quiet in the house. Now the day of, you want to make sure to buy your snacks and your drinks. So typically I don't like to have any alcohol on my open houses, but it depends on maybe what type of open house you're hosting. So some I try not to have it, but I always have mini water bottles and I will always have them cold, just especially with the Miami heat, you're always going to want something cold. And then I will do either cookies and pastelitos, some type of something sweet. And then I sometimes will like to have like a little bit of candy just for the kids. Make sure to always ask the parents if they're allowed to have candy. So that'll be drinks and snacks. Then you want to have napkins just to not make a mess and make sure if you do have cookies, you want to have someone have the napkin. That you can as well get personalized, very inexpensive, something that they'll remember your name. And then you want to buy balloons the day of. So typically I do maybe like the dollar store and then I would get either gold stars, silver stars, something that will attract more attention. And what you do with those balloons is like a birthday party, you put it at the front of the house and it attracts more people as well. And then you can also put them on your open house signs. So you want to make sure to get a good amount. Now, once you are done with all of that and prepping, you want to make sure to go to your actual property and prepare the open house. So what do I mean by that? You want to put lay everything out and make it look very presentable. So you're going to have your sign-in sheets ready to go with your business cards laid out, all of your pens, and you want to make sure to basically pick up the house. So typically when I'm going to get a listing, when I'm doing my listing agreement, I'm explaining to them what my expectations are. Because when I'm going to attach my name to a listing, I want to make sure that it's at the best possible scenario. So I want to make sure that there are very few pictures posted up on the walls, anything personal, just because I do have a lot of sellers that sometimes don't like to have their personal photos and people knowing who's living at the property. So things like personal items, I try to always put them away. Kitchen, bathrooms, everything must be removed from the kitchen counter, from the bathroom counter. You want to remove all notices of any pets. So any pet bowls of water, food, beds. You want to make sure that's something that will help the smells of the property as well. And it just looks a little bit less scattered. You also, kitchen-wise, want to put away any like dishwashing sponges or any trash. Just put everything, even if there's a garage or there's a carport, something that will just hide the mess, then that's always something that I chose to do, just because it's going to make everything look a little bit more picked up and clean. So you want to make this house look as comfortable as possible for any future buyers. So a buyer doesn't want to go into a property and there's dirty dishes in the sink, there's dirty laundry. You want to make sure it looks as clean as possible. Something that I will like to always do too is I typically do one simple candle in the kitchen. I do a very simple scent. I'll do vanilla. I don't like to do candles all over the property, solely because I have seen a lot of realtors that have mentioned that if you do put a lot of candles, sometimes it looks like you're masking a smell that the property might have. So I will typically just do one candle in the kitchen, and it's a simple scent like vanilla. You can do cotton linen, something that will just be able to give the whole house a good clean scent. The next thing I do is I make sure to open all of the blinds. So you want all natural light, the most natural light that you can have. Now, there are some spaces that you're going to obviously have that doesn't get a lot of natural light. I also turn on all the lights, so you have the property as lit up as possible and as open for everybody to go and see it. Now, about an hour before I'm done with all of this, right? So I have already prepared my open house. I have all of my snacks ready. I have my water bottles in the fridge. I'm basically ready to go. Typically what I do is I give myself about 45 minutes to an hour to door knock the neighborhood. Now, you can door knock the neighborhood the night before, or the day before, I'm sorry, and you can go and let them know, hey, I'll be hosting an open house if you'd like to come by. If you want to kind of make it an extra something more exciting, you can let them know, because you're a neighbor, I'll give you a VIP entrance. And instead of coming at 11 a.m., you can come at 10:30, come see it before anybody else sees it. A lot of people will typically like that. It makes them feel a little bit more special, that you're giving them access before everyone else does. You can either do a VIP entrance prior, or you can let them know, I'll stay an extra 30 minutes so you can see the property after everybody has left. So I typically do a door knock the day of. I don't normally do the night before, just because I feel like a lot of people either will forget about it, and then you need to remind them on that Saturday morning either way. So typically I'll do Saturday, and I will also leave them a door hanger, so they have my information in case they aren't able to meet me at my open house. They at least have my information. They see I have a property that's available for sale in their neighborhood. That one will also attract more sellers. They'll attract more questions, and a lot more people will see the door hanger, and they'll see that I'm an active agent in the neighborhood, and they'll see that they have some traction, and it'll allow them to give me a call for whether they are questioning if they want to sell their property in the neighborhood, if they're looking to buy another property, if they're looking to maybe invest in another property, or if they just want a CMA done on their own property, just to get an idea of what that property is going for and how it would differentiate from their own home. Now, another thing I would definitely want to do is you do a video walkthrough of the property before anybody gets there. So you can either do it when you're talking, or you can do one without talking and just do a video walkthrough. I always have this handy for a lot of different reasons. One, you have social media content available for you. So you can do small snippets of the property, or you can just do one full video walkthrough. Now, that's always good to have, because one, you want to post it on your social medias once you're done with the property, once you're done with your open house. Something else that I have had come up a lot is sometimes you might have an agent that is ready to go to the property, ready to go to the open house, and something happens, or the client, their child gets sick and they're no longer able to make it. So it's always beneficial for you to have that. You have a video that you can send to that agent and let them know, hey, I'm sorry that your client couldn't make it, but please feel free to see this video, show it to your client, and let me know if they would want a personal tour any other day this week. So you want to make sure that you're as accessible as possible to every agent and every potential buyer. You want to make sure that you have all of your bases covered, because you want to make sure you expand your visibility for this property as most as you can. Now, for being active on social media. So I know if you're not active on social media, again, I strongly recommend that you get active, but something that I would recommend that you can do is post a story while you're door knocking. That's going to be something that's going to be very beneficial, because again, it's going to show that you are an active agent. You're not just going and sitting at an open house for 2 hours and scrolling through your phone. You're out there, you're looking for business, you're putting your name out there, you're trying to garner more interest for this seller. So it's always going to look better for you. One, as to in your seller's eyes, are going to see that you're active. 2, it's going to help you in your business, and 3, you get steps in. So I see no loss. Another thing that I would do is definitely do a story on Instagram or Facebook, and you can do a sneak peek and just do like maybe like a snippet of the kitchen and let them know, oh, this kitchen it was remodeled recently in 2020. They have brand new stainless steel appliances. Do small little sneak peeks of the property so people are more interested and they want to see more. And then you do a story of when you're done and how it went. So let's say you had 3 hours at the property and you had 20 families come by. Something great to always show is how busy the open house is. Again, it helps your engagement. It helps people see how active you are as an agent. And it helps people see, okay, the market's still moving along. Everyone always likes to know that. So anytime, doesn't matter where I go, the second I say I'm a realtor, the first question out of everyone's mouth is what? How's the market? So if you're active on social media, sometimes that alone will help people see. So right now, I know I'm deviating a little bit from the open house and going into more general real estate, but how's the market right now? Prices, they are where they are. If you want to move to Miami, you know that you're going to be in a higher price point because from, let's say, the past 2 years, interest rates, it kind of is what it is right now. What can you do about interest rates? Not too much. A lender will always help you and maybe help you say like if you can buy down points and something like that. But right now, how is the market? It's great. It's always great. If anyone ever asks you, how's the market right now? It's fantastic. People are constantly moving to Miami and they're always going to be trying to move to Miami. So the market is always great. That is always your answer. And then when you show on social media how active you are, how moving the Miami market is, people are always going to want to know more. They're going to want to know what price their home can sell for. They're going to want to know, whoa, well, the market is so great. What if I can get an investment property? So always try to be active and always try to answer all the questions possible and be as engaging as possible. So we have free tools at our hand. Always use them. Anything free, always take the most advantage of it as you can before you have to go into something that would be paid. So that is basically the day of your open house. Are there any questions on that? Or I'll move on to our tips.
Tatiana, what time do you typically get there before the open house?
How early?
Yeah.
About an hour and a half before, because I want to give myself 40 minutes to an hour to door knock the neighborhood prior. The signs, depending on how many signs you put out. So I would typically be putting out signs. I would say maybe by 8 to 9 o'clock, I would be putting out signs. And then I would door knock maybe 9:40 to 10:40. And then I give myself time to get back to the property and, maybe spritz up a little bit more perfume, get a little bit more ready, Febreze the house if you need to. And then that way you're a little bit fresh when everybody starts getting there. All right, so I'll move on to my tips. So I would say an open house is always the most beneficial and the best attended when you obviously promote it well enough, and also when it is not on a holiday. So I see a lot of agents sometimes do that. I love July 4th. I think it's a great time to, do work. I think it's awesome because people are home and you can give them a call. You could send out very cute mailers, but hosting an open house, let's say during a big event like a July 4th day, I think that it's a little bit harder just because you do have to super promote it. Make sure you have something extra special going on to make people leave their family home or leave their events or something that a lot of people go out of town for. Try to always do an open house on a weekend that isn't a major national holiday. So that's something that I have seen people do that I think that sometimes if you don't get as much engagement or as many attendees as you want, it might have been for that case. So always try to do something on just a regular weekend and not something that's a national holiday. Ideally, I typically don't like to have my sellers present during the open house. I have done it before and it depends on how comfortable your seller is. So I've had a seller prior that she was very, very adamant about her home and she wanted to know like basically who was coming to the house. She wanted to see who was going upstairs, everything. So she stayed on the couch the entire open house. Now, my pros for having the sellers there is basically they get to see the owner and they get to see, how well the property is maintained. They get to know the owner and see, maybe ask them any specific questions that they have. My cons for having the seller there is, for me personally, whenever I have a buyer, I don't feel comfortable speaking openly if the seller is there. So imagine if you're going to a house and they have, I don't know, let's say like the wall is painted bright red and you walk in and you're like, oh, wow, like that's a little strong. And the seller is there. you are now offending the seller by choosing to paint their wall red. Now, how beneficial would that be to you as a buyer? How quickly do you think that they'll be looking at your offer saying, oh, that was the person that insulted my red wall, X them out, I don't want them buying the house. So me having the seller there, I always, again, during the listing agreement timeframe that I get to be very comfortable with the seller, I typically put my guidelines and my requirements just to kind of set the precedent and set the expectations of what I expect my seller to go through. For my open house, I typically don't allow my seller to be home. I let them know, hey, please, step out. It'll be about 3 hours, so I'll need maybe 4 hours. Go ahead and maybe watch a movie, go somewhere, go shopping, do something that you will make sure to be out of the house, not even in the vicinity, because I don't want all that traction. Now, some sellers, they will want to know a full report. I do typically do that. I will let them know. I will show them the sign-in sheet. I will send them an email recap of who the person was. Another good tip to have is on the sign-in sheet, whenever I have people sign in, typically I don't let the person sign in for themselves, because one, they can either put a phone number that's incorrect, or maybe they have handwriting that is not legible that you can't read. So you want to make sure that you sign in everybody. And that's also a very personal touch, because you get to know the person. Now, if they have an agent with them, make sure to not step on anybody's toes, and you can have their agent do everything for them. Sign in for them, put their information, make sure that that agent leaves a business card. So I know we're in the digital age and we don't always have our present business cards, but make sure you get their information. At least you got their phone number, their name, their social media, so you can at least follow up with them for different reasons as well. Now, something else I would definitely like to do that's a good tip, that especially if it's something that the property has been upgraded, make sure that you have a list of all the upgrades and when they were done. So it can be something as a new AC, the kitchen was remodeled, the bathroom was remodeled, you were freshly painted the house maybe within a year. You want to make sure that you have anything that is beneficial to potential buyers to know. That would be a question that's going to come up later on throughout the process. So I typically like to do, like, if it's a completely remodeled house, I will break down all of the remodels that have been done, when they were done, and I will print that out on a sheet and have it next to my sign-in sheet. That is going to allow for questions that were going to come up be already answered. So you want to make sure that you cover all of your bases and make sure you have all of the information that you need on the property beforehand. Another thing to do, that if the client does come in without a realtor, make sure to give them their space. You don't want to be super on top of them and like attack them and attack their personal space. Always greet everybody when they come in. If they do have a realtor, you can ask them, would you like your realtor to give you a tour? Do you want me to go ahead and show you the property? Always give them the option, because you want to make sure that you give them the liberty if they want to just walk around, or if they want you to give them the personal tour. So if they do come in without a realtor, typically you want to make sure that you do give them a little bit of attention, so that you can eventually, if you can, work that deal and then you end up getting a buyer from your open house, then fantastic. But you do want to give them a little bit of space, because it's very uncomfortable to have somebody just following you around and just kind of seeing the property with you. So give them a little bit of space. Like if they go into the bathroom, great, let them go into the bathroom, then go into the bedroom, then go after them. But don't go right after them, because sometimes people will feel a little bit attacked if you're too close to their space. So if your seller has any special requests, make sure to please abide by them, even if they are not there. I had a seller once that had a cat. She said, please don't open this bathroom door. My cat will escape. So I went an extra length and I put a sign on the door. Please do not open this door. There is a cat inside and she will escape. Now, if it's a space that you have to at least show, like let's say it's a half bathroom or something, make sure you at least have a photo of it on the MLS and let everybody know there's a cat in the property, so we won't be able to open the door, but feel free to try revert back to the picture so you can see this half bathroom. Anything like that. Or if they specifically ask you, don't let anybody wander on their own, that's something that you go ahead and show the property to every person that walks into the property. Another thing that I would say is, again, I will reiterate to have a walkthrough video. So walkthrough video is always fantastic for agents that can't make it, for potential buyers. I actually had to do a walkthrough video for a client the other day, just because they were going to be a relocation client. So I said, let me just get a walkthrough video of the property. Or you can also offer, I know this is a little bit going extra. Sometimes I do typically go extra. If the client is not able to make it, you want to use maybe the 30 minutes before or stay 20 minutes behind after when you're done with the open house, and you can FaceTime them. So a lot of clients typically like that because one, it feels like you're giving them a personal touch and you're staying behind or doing something earlier before you have to do your setup. So they'll feel a little bit more that you're giving them that personal touch of going out of your way and doing a FaceTime call with them so they can see the property. And then I would recommend, so I would definitely try to do an open house style setting, not set by appointment. I've done it both ways before. I typically like to do it by appointments, but I've seen and I've had experience in the past that, let's say you would do an 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and you have an appointment for 11:30 to, I typically do 15-minute intervals. So let's say you have 11:15, 11:30, 11:45, 12, 12:15, etc. Now, that 11:30, if they're running behind and you have an 11:45 and a 12, and they're saying, oh, we're running 30 minutes behind, who's getting interrupted? Your 12 o'clock appointment if they're running 30 minutes behind. So now you're having two separate parties seeing the property together with you, and you're not getting that personal attention. So typically I don't do open house style settings with appointments anymore, like going through showing time. I like them to request an appointment through showing time if I want to get their information. But typically I do like to have an open house style setting so you can go and see the property and I'll be able to go and attend to you. If you're submitting a request through showing time, I at least know you already have an agent. And I feel comfortable that an agent is going to go and show the property yourself. But if I have somebody that is coming in without representation, I will typically do, let's say, I will have them come, oh, can you come in around 11:15? And then the other one come in around 12. So I give myself enough time if they don't have an agent that I will be able to give them that personal attention rather than just say, oh, come in at 11:15 and come in at 11:20. I know I won't be able to attend both. So I want to make sure that I'm there present with everybody that goes. Also, because you want to make sure that you get to know these potential buyers. So that will also to help you differentiate, because if you end up in a multiple offer situation and you have, let's say, okay, I met these two clients and this client was talking great about the property, kept commenting, kept complimenting, and then you have this other buyer and they were like, oh, okay, oh, the red wall, I didn't like that. Oh, they have a closed door. You already know when you have that multiple offer situation who is going to be more dedicated to the property, and you want to make sure who really felt attached to the property. Because ideally, unless it's an investment property or it's a flip and then you have no emotional attachment to it, you want to make sure you get somebody that's going to really take care of the property and basically have that seller's same love going into that property with this next buyer. So you want to make sure that you get to know the potential buyers as best as possible so you can avoid maybe somebody going in to just basically but see the property because they liked it, or let's say it's like a husband and a wife and the husband sees the property and then the wife didn't get to see the property. Very good. You have a walkthrough video. Make sure that the wife goes sees the property. Make sure that you can set an appointment to see it, because we always know wife is always the one that's right. And if the husband likes it and the wife doesn't like it and you go under contract, you're gonna end up losing you're gonna end up losing time if you don't have the go ahead from both parties. Another thing that I would say is follow up with absolutely everybody that attended. So that's why the sign-in sheet is so important as well. You want to make sure that you have the name, the phone number, and always good to have the email. So you can do an email blast or a text message, either or, once you finish with the property, with the open house. But about an hour after, I would either send out a text message. Now, you do your digital business card. Thank you for coming by. And if they have any questions, same thing with the email. You want to thank them for coming by, send them your information. And then if they have any questions, so you at least one, are garnering more interest, you're following up, and again, you're showing what an attentive agent you are, saying, thank you for coming to my open house, and if you have any questions, let me know. You can get more clients out of that, you can get more buyers out of that, and it'll also show anybody else that goes to that open house. Let's say it didn't work out for them. Maybe they're considering changing their real estate agent. So you always want to make sure that you are at the top of your game, and an open house is a great way for you to see and show your talents. And then my final tip is, any realtors that come to your open house, always make sure to have their information, because remember, if you do recruit them over to Lifestyle, you get agent revenue share. So it's a win-win for everybody. Any questions that you have on how to host an open house?
Hi, do you ever host during the week? And if so, what's the turnout like in comparison to the weekend?
I typically host during the weekend. I just feel more people are more available. If it's during the week, I would do an evening showing and I would do likely 5 to 7 p.m. I've done that before too. I was on a very, very tight schedule. So typically if I do an open house, I like to do the weekend because it gives me the whole week to really prepare for it. But if I do, I would typically do either a Wednesday or a Thursday. Friday, I don't think would be as well attended, Mondays either. So I typically like to do Wednesday, Thursday, and I'll do like an evening. Now for that, I would maybe do something like maybe something a little cuter and do like bubbles and bites and do like more of a happy hour style setting. So it also, be a little bit more unique and bring different traction and bring a different audience.
Thank you.
Of course. Any other questions?
Tatiana, what was the question that I had? Just a couple. Oh, after you get your listing, right?
Yeah.
How long after you get your listing do you do the open house? Do you do it typically the first weekend, the second weekend?
It depends on the listing. So if I know it's something that's going to fly, I will typically do my listing. So once from listing agreement to actually posting, getting the photos, it takes about a week, week and a half. I would typically do it if I'm signing the agreement on a Monday, and it takes me, let's say, a whole week to upload it, I would do it the following weekend. So it's listed on the MLS for about a week and a half. I would typically try to do it quickly, but if it's something that, let's say it's going to take me a little bit longer, it's a more of a luxury listing, I would give it about a full month of being on the MLS so you get traction and you get information. Now, during that month that you are listed, don't just let it sit on the market. You go and you call agents, you garner the interest. You can door knock every weekend if you'd like and let them know that you have the property available for sale. But for the open house, make sure you extra go out there and door knock and sending out mailers is also a great thing to do. There's a 3-part mailer that I typically do. I do just listed, under contract, and just closed. Again, you're getting more interest. You're putting your face out there, and you're letting people know you're the agent to contact for that neighborhood. If again, and also another point on that question, if I have a property that's going to fly and I want to do the open house, I don't want to do showings beforehand, make sure to put that on the MLS. And any agent that comes and says, oh, I have somebody, they're paying cash and they need to see it today, I'm like, okay, great, we'll do an open house. Because again, you want to be fair to everybody. It's happened to me before that I've seen an agent that posts and they say they only want to do an open house and they want to do the first showing at the open house. And then before I got to my appointment for the open house, I follow up with them to make sure, because I was, as a buyer's agent, I followed up and make sure that I had all my appointments set. And then I see that it's under contract. And I'm like, hey, what's up? Like, I call the listing agent, I let them know, hey, why is it under contract? You told me that the first showing was going to be for the open house. They're like, oh, we had a cash buyer come in and the seller just wanted to move forward. Don't be that agent. And if you are that agent, make sure to let people know that if you are going to be under contract and you are no longer going to be showing during the open house, make sure to call every agent that did have an appointment so they don't end up showing up to your open house, or they don't end up like feeling like unattended by you because you went under contract.
Tatiana, I typically take videos of my listings, the
Mhm.
interior of the house. Uh, if you're gonna have an open house on that same weekend, do you still post your videos or do you hold it?
For the video, it depends. I can do both. I typically, if I have like a professional video, I would definitely post it as soon as possible. It's always great. That's always great to have a professional video. That's always nice and people love to see it. But I like to do more of like a personal video of myself, like walking through the property, just because people like to see that engagement and they like to see you. So I do a little bit of both. If I have a professional video, I'm going to post it. You paid for it, might as well use it. And then I will do my own video as a video walkthrough. I don't typically do the video walkthrough before my open house or while I'm at the open house. I could do it after or do snippets so people want to see more.
Thanks, Tatiana.
Anyone have any questions on how they have done their open house, how they can improve, or any open house tips that they would want to share? All right, well, then I will give, do you budget what you're going to? So my budget for not only an open house, for any listing, I typically do at most 10% of what my commission would be. So that I include my marketing, anything that I would be doing. So let's say mailers, if I intend to do, I typically map out my open house. So I typically have an idea of how long it'll take me to basically sell the property. So again, if I have a property that I know is going to sell quickly, I'll give myself maybe about a month and I'll do maybe 1 or 2 open houses. I will budget for that. So I typically do something simple like the cookies, pastelitos, water. So something like that going to Publix, let's say 1 run of that plus the balloons, I would say ranges about $35–40. So I will budget myself to that. So I always make sure that I don't pass my budget and I make sure that I have a certain limit that I want to put into it. Now, if you're doing something more luxury, that's going to be a little bit more and you want to make sure that you spend a little bit more. But always keep in mind to budget in your marketing as well. So when I've done my three mailers at a time that I do that I do just listed under contract and just sold, that typically does run up a little bit more on the higher end of the budget, but I don't do that for every single property. It's great marketing and it doesn't get that expensive, but I know EDDM sometimes has a little bit of a higher price point that not every agent can do, but feel free to door knock. That is absolutely free. It's just your time. You can print out your maybe some flyers that you have at the office and then go and talk to the agents. Go and talk to the owners, I'm sorry. And also you can just go ahead and look up the owners' addresses as well, and you can write them personal letters. So my investment is usually a lot more. You can do more time if you don't want to spend the money, or if you want to spend money and just do mailers and just do something, maybe send out little gifts. It's either whichever way you like and depending on the house, but it's really just more your preference. So I have, Dalila had written that to print out the MLS listing with details. So something like that, some people might do it. I personally don't like printing out the MLS information just because one, I want the person or the agent to reach out to me directly for any details or any information on the property. When people typically have that MLS listing, they sometimes will revert back to it and maybe don't give you a call. I want to be able to speak to any potential buyers as much as I can. And I want to speak to the agent as much as I can because I want to get to know them as best as I can to be able to get the best buyer for my seller. So sometimes maybe the buyer themselves is, they're maybe like the second best, but the agent and I have a great relationship, and I know that me and that agent having a great relationship is going to make it a smoother deal. And let's say the difference is like $2,000 of asking price or sales price of what they're offering. I sometimes will actually go for that agent that is bringing me a deal that's $2,000 less because I know that it's going to go so smooth, and I want to make sure that the seller is not having any issues or any problems coming up that I'm trying to avoid. So typically that's something that I would always keep in mind as well. Make sure you have a very good relationship. And if your buyer does like this property, become best friends with that listing agent because it does really make that difference.
Do you have any tips on how to get some sponsors for open houses?
I mean, I typically just ask. I have different lenders that I'm friends with or different title companies that you can always revert to and ask. Typically I don't have them do the full sponsorship or anything too big. But I do like them if they can come and bring like cafecito or something like that. We are in Miami, so you have to have cafecito cortaditos. But I will have them just ask, so if it's beneficial for them. I've had a sponsor before, a lender, he set up everything for me. He brought out a table with the linen, with the cafecito, pastelitos, croquetas, everything. And we even door knocked the neighborhood together. So I think that when you have somebody that you can really count on and is really present, that's huge. And it obviously garners more interest for them. And it's something that if you won't find out if they're willing to sponsor, if they're willing to help out, if you don't ask. So if you have somebody that you're already like working with, then just simply ask them and see if they're willing to help you. And not so much even sponsoring, just go out and help you because it helps. Let's say if you have a lender there, it's very beneficial to buyers as well when they come in with an agent, or if they don't come in with an agent, you can do a pre-approval almost on the spot right then. Like just basically have the lender have their computer out and they can get their information and boom, you just gave the lender a great lead and you have somebody that you can work with, and now they see how well of a team you work and how well you are connected. So that's something that's also a great tip to have. So if you do have a lender or a title company, or if you want to work this property with another agent, that's something that you can always do, and it's a little bit easier for you. All right, well, if you guys have any other questions, feel free. You can find me on Instagram at TATIE54, or you can give me a call. I'm at the Dayland branch. So if you guys ever need to come by, feel free. I'd love to meet you all if I haven't met you already. And from that, just let me know if you have any other questions, and then always be on top of the morning calls and make sure that you kind of have any questions and figure out anything that you have for you to basically be a better real estate agent.
Thanks, Tatiana. You're awesome.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.